Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly world session. This is October 7th, 2025. My name's Terryann, and I am at Urban Retreat. This is where you can get sessions. You can like, share, and subscribe to help us all out to get greater energy involved in these sessions. That would be wonderful to know that people are listening and actually receiving the sessions. That helps everyone along the way. So, what I'm looking at today is the impact on the five senses. We have five physical, five subtle senses. We want to be able to mitigate how those senses are receiving information. Now, we need to be very delicate about this because when a person is high sensitive, they're going to receive that information a lot more intensely, let's say. So just imagine you're on a spectrum of information. Some people very dull to receiving information, and some people it is heightened. So how someone feels, the emotions they're going through, that can mean that empathy is highlighted. Someone's having a bad day, and you're going to feel their energy a lot more. And I'm not just talking about you walk in the room. Yes, that can occur empathically, but there's also hearing what they say, the tone of their voice, the the raised voice, the lower voice. You might notice there maybe it's we the more sensitive we are, we notice if somebody's respiration rate has gone up. We notice if they're a little bit sweaty. We notice if they're um, um, talking a little faster. We notice if their voice is nice and seated within them or it's really high up. We notice if somebody's talking straight from the head or straight from the gut. We do notice these things. Maybe, albeit it could be a subconscious reading of it. And then some people could go, I really can't read any of this. Yes, that's also possible. We are all lovely flowers in the universe, in this world. Everyone's a different flower, and you can flower and live the way you need to us. Yeah, sometimes someone could be a weed, but weeds are very helpful in their own way. Okay. So we're looking at the individual here. So that's a big deal. When you think of whatever I'm going to say here, whatever you're going to experience is just going to be your experience. There is no generalizing anything ever in these sessions because your body mind is going to pick up what it needs to pick up. So your skin, your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your nose, everything is picking up what's going on in the world. And some of us respond really extremely. So we could start to shake. We can't handle our emotions. And a lot of times people will say to those people, why do you take everything so personally? And I know quite a few people who feel that way. Why do you take things so personally? Why are you taking this personally? Well, because the physiology is responding to the world, to what's going on around the individual in an extreme way, which you may not be experiencing, or, person X is not experiencing. Person X can just say, oh, buck up. So I grew up with a mom who really didn't have all these feelings that I had, all these sensations that I had, all the sensitivities. And she used to go, what is wrong with you? Like, why is everything bothering you so much? And because it didn't bother her. Like, I'd sit on the grass and it would bother me. Just little things touching my skin. It would be so itchy. And she'd be like, why are you itchy with one little thing touching you? Why is all the clothing bothering you? Well, we're different, right? We're all different. So some of you might relate to what I just said, and some of you might go, oh, you might roll your eyes at people like me. That's fine, however you look at it. What we want to do here is allow your senses to really work through a sort of, I'm going to call it a detoxification process. That means we can get the memories of all the ways our senses responded. I think this one would be the biggest. Get all of the memories of how our senses responded, because I think that also builds up. And as that builds up, I can unbeknownst to me, I might not be completely aware of it, but today I was realizing, you know what? I think I expect how I'm going to react. I expect, and that is amplifying the actual situation. So let's start with that one. And you're going to take a breath. We're going to remove the memories of when you reacted. And let's say, we're working two sides of the spectrum, people who react strongly, people who don't react at all. And then everything in between will, kind of let the pieces fall where they may. So the extreme person might be the one who looks at a person like me and says, wow, you're a psycho. So we want to give that person the compassion, which they may not have, but even if it's 0.0005% of compassion to understand that individual, because just claiming that that individual is taking things personally or unable to manage things, that's not quite fair, because you can manage things and maybe you're managing a lot more emotional content that way. So I look at my father, he is very much like me. Very much like me. We both react very strongly to every little thing going on in our bodies. But it would be nice if my father had an understanding that he's not the only one having this reaction. So we need that sense, especially those of us working here that are healers. We need to kind of look around and go, there are a lot of us out there that will highly react. Those who don't react, we're not going to make them react. If you want to have a stronger sense of what's going on, fine. But we would allow the vision to just understand there are other people in the world who are highly reactive. You don't need to do anything about it. It'll just help you personally. It's not about helping the other. It's about helping you go, okay, I get why they're doing that. Because you may take it personally that they're reacting that way as well. So you might not be hypersensitive, but you might be taking it personally. So if you're in a relationship with someone who's high sensitive, you might think, what am I doing wrong that is causing them to do that? And no, you don't end up shaking. No, you don't end up with a headache or blinding light and having to go to the bed because you're receiving that information. But it could cause a little bit of problem in your relationship. So we're just looking at those variations. We're not doing anything for anyone else. We're doing it for ourselves to better assimilate it's not really assimilate, it is synthesize the information coming in. Because we also have to bring in, there's weather. So today was kind of nice in the morning, then it darkened, it got really, really dark. Now it's raining. And I definitely feel the changes in my brain. I got a little bit more confused as, the darkness came down on me. Yeah. So you might experience something like that or something different. So we want to work on weather. That's going to be through what's called your Wei Qi. So that's climactic Wei Qi, and we've also got psychic Wei Qi. We want to deal with that as well. And then we want to allow those five senses. We want to give sort of a formula that will mitigate the intensity, not what protects you, but what can, let's say, tire you out. I said I wasn't going to do this, but it could tap into your adrenals. It could tap into the amygdala. It could tap into everything, your sugar resources. I think it's probably good for some people who go, I have extra fat, so it'd be good if it goes in and get this, that, but that's not necessarily what it does. That's not what I feel it does, but you would want to have more energy so you could use up your fatty tissue. Yeah, I think that feels good. All right. So through this whole thing, as I talked about it, my lower sort of below the navel, that area started cramping, and now I can feel it relaxing. So mitigation, this is physical subtle. We've got the Wei Qi, climactic, and psychic. I think we need to bring in some of the emotional content. We want to reduce for whoever needs that to reduce, and to whatever level, the frequency of information that might be coming in because you're expecting it, because maybe you're super tired, because You might not have eaten properly. We want the gut brain to make the proper decisions like, oh, you're really tired. So we're not going to get the five senses to knock you out, to get you to shake. We want the gut brain to go, hey, time for a rest, time for isolation. We want the gut brain to go, hey, time for a sip of water. This isn't about you getting so intensely inundated by all of your senses so you'll finally crash. No, it's not a good way for the body to cope. The body needs to go, no, I need a sip of water. I need a bite to eat. I need a rest. And for those who are really strong HSPs, sometimes we need to be in an isolation room. We need to be in, sometimes I wish I had one of those, cocoon things you could get in and just float in water. Sensory deprivation tank, just to cease everything that's going on. All right, so now I'm being drawn to the upper abdomen. So this is just above, probably, I'd say a little bit duodenum, and part of the muscular system around the stomach. And I am beginning to sweat. So there is the, ooh, okay, so the sweating is all about insulin and a detoxification through the liver of hormones. And then we have some cleansing of the lungs. So you want to be breathing now and making sure your diaphragm is moving. So we're pumping blood through the liver, just getting circulation into that liver, get it to clean out, and also have the liver filter out any excess hormone. And then we also want to get blood sugar balanced. So this is interesting. I don't have any blood sugar issues. So this must be, something quite big in the world. I think it is quite big that a lot of people have diabetes or insulin resistance. And yeah, whoa, I'm even tasting sugar in my mouth now. Fascinating. Okay, so the respiration is supporting that. That means getting oxygen into the blood and supporting it to clean out the liver, but also get around the rest of the body. Of course, we can't get blood everywhere all at once. It has to be done in segments. So the instruction is that your brain decides where and when that blood needs to go. Okay, I've got that cramping again in the lower abdomen. So I just did liver and I got a shock in my eye. So liver and eyes are deeply connected. I'm just gonna, so the liver meridian can run through here. So if you feel like getting that liver meridian activated, and then you might want to do a little, this is for a poop poop, do a little poop poop here. Okay, so we want to get all this detox to go out. And then colon. And we also want to do lung. So lung and sinus is this. Now, if you do this, in a while, it could happen immediately or a little later, but it could clear completely your sinus. So we're going to deal with infection that can be in the sinus or the lungs. Of course, not everyone has this. But for the hemispheres, we've got spring and summer. Spring and fall going on. So a lot of people have allergens. There could be dust. There can be dust in the house. There can be excess molds. There's, ragweed, pollen, goldenrod, just the grasses and the molds. So this really helps move that out. I really love this move. It's just so thrilling. And you can literally have a drip going on. It'll come out like a faucet if there's a lot of stuff in there. So let's get that infection in the lungs, maybe in the throat, in the sinus, in the tonsils, gums, teeth. Often people have infection here. And then we're going to look for anywhere else in the body that there can be infection. The sweating is stopped, which is significant to me that it just came up through the sugar and came down. It's like a sugar, when you get a sugar rush and you sweat. So those of you who have insulin resistance, crave sugar, have diabetes, anything like that, just give a little pinch here. It's a little different than that one. Right there, this is your kidney. And we're just going to allow the kidneys to reduce the fear in your body. And you could touch kidney 27. That's right below your clavicle bones, the end of the clavicle bones right in there. And we're just going to allow the relationship between your kidneys. This is fear. This is what gets us moving out of the way of danger or helps you fight for yourself. And that area is often overstimulated because we live in an environment now where everything is at a higher level. So even just using the phone, getting that dopamine hit through the telephone. We've got electronics, we've got EMF, all of this kind of stuff that really, really influences our kidneys. Then we have a lot of media going on. Whether you watch it or you don't, it doesn't really matter. Got a lot of wars on the planet right now. It doesn't matter if you know about it or you don't. All of these things influence our energy field, influence our sensitivity, and do make us more sensitive to the world around us. So we want to get all of this beautifully, beautifully balanced. So here you can see the whole story that came in is like, all right, let's get the sugar balanced. Let's get the kidneys, and the liver is all about anger. Anger we need for organizing, planning. Sometimes we need anger to create. But getting angry, being volatile, those things are not good. Those things are not so healthy, unless you really have to defend yourself, that would be good. But I'm talking about, in our daily lives, anger helps us move. So here I'm smiling and my arms are moving. That's anger that moves me. Okay. So just have a different perception of what Chinese medicine gives us, which is anger is movement. Okay. And in Indian Ayurveda, it's the gunas, and the gunas have rajasic, or the rajas, which is the movement aspect. So we're going to bring all of that in to the body. So we're moving out excess sugar. And what did we start with in this session? Moving out the things that could congest our five senses, physical, subtle, that make us a little bit over the top, that can cause headache, shakiness. We want to hear the gut brain better. That I didn't quite expect, which is really beautiful. What's the solution to this? Well, the solution is, if my gut brain is operating, it's going to make the decisions, and then I can experience what's going on. Sure, I'm still going to have a high sensitivity, but my gut brain is going to tell me exactly what to do. Like, maybe you need to get up, maybe you need to go into a quiet place, maybe you need a sip of water, maybe you need a meal, maybe you need a little break, some rest, whatever that is. So let our gut brain decide. Maybe we need a jog, a run, a good walk, maybe lift some weights. These things are really important to keep us healthy and moving. So remember, breathe, move, and eat right. Love you all. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.